Hello and welcome to my channel. Now, I'm sure you've seen card blanks like these before. I would call fancy edge card blanks, like this scallop or this more intricate fancy edge. And often you'll see that they are at a premium as well, or at least packaged in smaller amounts than the normal square cut type cards. But you don't have to rely on what's available on the market. You can make your own. So, for instance, if you only needed 2 or 3 scallop cards, you can do them yourself by using Canvas Workspace to design them and your brother Scan and Cut to create them. And then you can turn them into cards like these. These are just a few of the types of fancy edge cards that you could be making by following my, hopefully, easy tutorial. And if you want to learn how, stick with me and I'll show you how. I'm using the download version of Canvas Workspace, but the same results can be achieved with the online version as well. For these fancy edge cards, I'm going to start, of course, with a square. That is going to be for my card blank. And I want to do the first one as a 5x7 card. So I'm going to go over here and untick the maintain aspect ratio and type in my width and my height. So now I have an idea of how this card is going to begin to form. Just give it a bit of color there. And then I need something to go along the edges. Now, for this one, I'm going to go into borders, because borders are a good way to add an edge that has already been created for us. I think for this one, we'll take this scallop here. And as you can see, when you bring it in, it comes in at the default of 11.42. But of course, that's much too large for our project here. We want this to go along the edges at the left and the right of this piece. So let's just shrink it down to 7 inches. You can see here we're at 7 inches, and I'm going to flip it around to 90 degrees. Then I'm going to duplicate it because I need one for the other side as well, and I'll use my horizontal flip function for that. So we're going to have one on this end and one on the other. Let's send that rectangle to the back. And let's concentrate on these bits first. So I've zoomed in a little bit so we can see it better. Now, also point out that this edge here has this little peak right here. I want to remove that, and it's very easy to do that by simply double clicking on, or left click on your mouse as well, the path tool function, and hide the control points so that you don't have all those pieces there, and just zoom in. And what we want to do is to get rid of this bit here. So we just want it to be connected from here to here. So if we get rid of all these points, and the easiest way to do that is to select, just drag and select those and delete the point. And now it's straightened out. We'll do the same at the other end. Double click it, drag and delete. Or you could, of course, just go in and select each of those nodes individually. This is the fastest way to do it. And there we have it. Now, something else I probably should have done was wait to make that duplication. So I can get rid of this. We can duplicate this one instead. And I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to duplicate it actually twice because I'm going to use it again on another card blank. Let's bring that over here and flip it around. So go back in and let's line this up with the card blank. And of course we want to be sure that it's overlapped so that we can weld it. So we can just let it sort of sit in here where we think it should go. We'll align it to the top. As you can see, it's aligned at the bottom as well. And then it will come over to this side. And we'll do the same. So we'll line that so that it's even with the top or with the bottom. You could do either one and weld it. So when we come back out, let's give it that color back again. Put this one here and weld it. And we have our card blank. And then all I need to do is go back in and resize it. So take the width back down to 10 inches. And we have our fancy edge card blank. And then we'll take it to the scoreboard and score it down the middle at 5 inches. Or you could, if you wanted to, place a score line in here, but I do prefer just to do the scoring on the scoreboard. Now, I'm going to do this again, except this time, and actually I don't even need to keep this. I can actually delete that, because what I can do is duplicate this. We'll move that one out of the way. We work on this one. We're going to do this same edge again, but we're only going to have it on one end of the card blank. We're going to just have a straight edge here. So what I'll do is I can go up here, bring in a square, and just drag it across it. Then come over to the process overlap and subtract. And now we have that square edge. Go back, resize it to 10 inches, and we have our second card blank. Now the difference being that when you fold this one, the first one that we did, you're going to have the scallops on both edges of the card, but this one, you'll only have them on one. So when you fold this down the middle, when you'll see the white or whatever color card you have, you'll see that beneath this. All right, so the other thing you can do, and what I'm going to do, is I'm going to actually score mine at 5 1/4, something like that. And then that way I can leave a little bit of this edge here when it's folded over to here, showing, and then I can decorate that with some papers, some pattern papers or glitter paper, something like that. And it just makes a nice little feature. So we've got 2 card blanks already done. Let's go on to a third. We'll go back up, and we're going to select our square, turn it to 10 inches by 7. And this time I'm going to go back into borders, and I'm going to find another border. I like this one here. It looks a bit like a wavy sea, right? So we can now select that, bring it down also to 7 inches. Just go over here and type in the 7, and I'm going to turn it 90 degrees, duplicate it, and flip it horizontally. Then place it on either end like that. So I'm going to take everything and align it to the top, and let's see how much overlap do we want. Actually, I think we'll just do this. So we can align it to the top over here, align that up, and this is, your choice how much you wanted it to overlap. And once if you're not happy with it, just use your undo button and you can start again. So let's zoom out so we can see it, and weld. And there is our wavy card blank. Again, go back up, resize it to 10 inches. And you have a 5 by 7 card blank. For this next border, I'm going to create my own, going over to shapes and selecting a circle. I'll resize that. Just click on the maintain aspect ratio and type in, let's go with 1/2 inch, like that. I'm going to need several of these circles because it's going to fill up this 10-inch space. So if I bring in my square now, just to show you the amount of space we're looking at. We're going to that much as well as the 5-inch. We could have actually brought this in later, and I'll show you what I mean when we get to that point. So it doesn't really matter what size it is at the moment. We're going to have our circle, and it's going to go all the way to the edge and then all the way to the bottom, again all the way around this 10 by 5-inch blank. So I'm going to start duplicating this by coming here to the layers page and clicking on duplicate. I'm just going to make a whole lot of circles. I'm just going to get rid of that for now. It's just going to get in the way. Let's look at what we've got. Let's make some more of these. That's probably going to be enough. So we're going to drag across all of those, come up to the edit function to align, and then let's make the ones for the top of the card first. So we'll align them to the top, and these are already overlapped, but they're way too much overlap for me, so I want to change that. They're already selected. As you can see, you've got all the little blue lines around there. I'm going to go down to the distribute objects and the space between those objects. I'm going to change that to a negative number. So let's try 0.5, and then select the horizontal spacing, and that looks pretty good. That looks very good, in fact. Now, had I selected instead something like that, this would have been the result. So that was not going to give us that overlap we need. I'm going to use my pick there, the arrow key. I'm going to drag across this till it gets up to 10 inches. I'm just keeping an eye on the width here. I'm at 10 1/4. Let's try this. Actually, let's place it in here along these. I know that 10 is going to be about here. Yes, because I've got so we're going to select these. If you'll look over to the right, I've got the width of 9.95, so I'm going to just change that right now to 10. And I'll get rid of all these. I don't need those anymore. So I've got these 10, and I'm going to need 5 inches worth for the height of the card. What I'm going to do now is select 5 inches, or as close as I can get to it. Duplicate it, then change it to 5 inches. So I've got a string of 10 inches and 5 inches. Then I can weld these together, and I can weld these together. These I need to rotate 90 degrees. So that string is going to be 90 degrees, and it's going to fit in here like this. So I'll duplicate it. It's going to go over here. And then I need to duplicate this as well. So I'll have something that looks a bit like that. And I'm going to show you something else right now. If you went back over to the borders and selected the first border, you can see it's almost exactly the same. All they've done is just narrow it a bit. So this would have started out as a series of circles. So you're making your own border. So now we need to line these up. So I'm going to take this one at the top, and we're going to align it to the one on the right. So that means we need to line it up to the right, and we need to line it to the top. Now it's completely overlapped, so that when we weld it, it's one continuous shape. We do the same for these. We can bring this one up here, select it, align it to the left and to the top. And we can weld that one and bring this one in, and it gets aligned to the bottom. And you can select either the left or the right. It makes no difference. So if you select the left or you select the right, there's no difference. And weld. And we go up here, we see we now have a 10 by 5 blank. Except that if we were to cut this out right now, which I can show you by putting some color in there, just going to cut a great hole in the middle. So we need to fill that up, and that's where our card blank comes into play, or our square in this case. And just bring our square in and drag it out so that it overlaps our scallop like that. Select both of those shapes, and now go to Process, Overlap, and Weld. And now you have your 5 by 10 scalloped edge, which will fold down the middle to form a 5 by 5 card. And there are just a few of the types of fancy edge card blanks that you can make yourself with the help of Canvas Workspace and, of course, the Brothers Gavin Cut. So the next thing I need to do is to cut these out, and then we'll have a little bit of a play putting some few simple cards together. I'll be back in just a little bit. cut out all the card blanks now, and as you can see I've also cut a few other bits and pieces so that we can make a few quick cards. And I've scored most of them as well, except I've left this one, and I'll show you what I'm going to do with that. So as you can see, this is the wave one, and that has been scored at the 5-inch mark. I've got my 5x5 scallop. As you can see, that's also scored at 5x5. And this is my other sort of fancy border there. This is the one with it on both ends. And that I've also scored at 5. And then this one, which has the scallops or the fan design, whatever you want to call that, on just the one end, I'm going to fold it at 5¼ inches. So rather than the scoring it at the 5-inch, I'm just going to do it a little differently. You can see here how you have this bit still exposed, so that you don't have the scallop come all the way over to the edge. Now I did go ahead and off camera make another one of those, and this one I made to a 5x5 card, and you can see hopefully the difference there, where you have this one where the fancy edge is going to match up with that straight edge, and here you have it off center. So let's do some decorating. I'm going to start with the 5x5 with the scallop on one end, and I have my pieces already cut. I've got my mat. Now keep in mind that this is no longer going to be exactly a square, because that is being taken up by our little design here. And you can see here where I took off that little piece before and just made it straight. Otherwise it would be just hanging loose like that. So that's where we edited that in the path tool function. there, through the magic of Canvas Workspace and the Brother Scan and Cut, we have made our own fancy edge card blanks that we've now turned into cards. So let's take a look at what we've done. We've got our first card. We've got this one, which has the scallops on both edges. We have our wave card. Again, with that on both edges, and it stands perfectly. We have the scallop again, though in this case, what we've done is just folded off center. So instead of having these edges meet, we have this, because we've removed the scallops from here. Whereas in this one, even though we've cut that exactly the same, in this case we folded it right down the middle, so now you have this effect. So you could still put, of course, pattern paper behind here, or perhaps even cover the whole inside, and that would still kind of peek through there, but not to this effect. So this is just something a little different to do. I hope I've shown you how really easy it is to design and create your own fancy edge card blanks. Once again, thank you so much for joining me and for subscribing to my channel. I very much appreciate it. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you won't miss out on any of my future uploads. And until that time comes, please stay safe and crafty hugs. Bye.